Okay guys, welcome back to episode 6 with Kostas from CSKA Basketball. I hope that you are enjoying this episode so far. I can listen to Kostas much longer, but we will limit this interview to some...
You have to stop me.
Yeah, no worries. Let's talk a little bit what I mentioned earlier about youth player development. I would like to hear your philosophy, especially with some practical guidance for young coaches.
Well, one of the most fulfilling work that we can do, and definitely what I've done, is train young athletes of all levels. Because, like I always say, professionals need to be here. Professionals have to be in this weight room because it's their job. Even if they don't like it, they come because they have to. But kids, you see this anybody that is not a professional, they come in because they love the game. They want to be better, and you can see the fire of them in them wanting to do something better and make it in basketball. So it's a much fulfilling work, and I was so happy to see kids that started with us in 13, 14 years old and then grew up and became either professional players or went to get scholarships, and it's a really satisfying work. So I started working with kids early on the side with my professional basketball teams, and we had kids of all levels and abilities, and some kids were better than others, and different problems, different body types. And the first thing that I'd like to say is that you should never see a young athlete. Let's define a young athlete. We usually accept kids from 10 to 11 years old, and then up until 18, I consider them to be youth athletes. Of course, we know about the chronological age and the physiological age, and you have to be able to distinguish where each kid is. But definitely don't train a young athlete like an adult. Kids have special needs. They have their own developmental stages, and we have to have absolute respect for that. They have their own little they have their own mentality, their own psyche, and we have to be very respectful of their sensitivities and the way they look at life. And one word from us can either lift them up or destroy them. And I've seen it time and again and I'm that guy that always I always say that tell the truth. So I'm never going to tell you, oh, you're going to be such a great player or whatever. If I believe that you're not in that level or your body type, whatever, I'm just going to be positive and always be supportive, but always trying to tell the truth to where you are. But I say that because this is really important. A lot of us are always, we want to look at the chronological age, the physiological age, the techniques, what we're going to do, but what's really important for these kids is how we want to treat them as people. And I have fathers coming back and say, oh, you know what, you guys did a couple of workouts and little George over here just killed them in the game. It was amazing. And deep down, all it was his confidence. And young people are not very confident. If you get across a couple of them, and I have a couple of great examples, people that play in the Euroleague right now, they were very confident when they were really young, but most of them are not. So I think that they come into our weight rooms and the first time probably they get some attention one-on-one, and I always encourage the right thing and correct the wrong. I never, so I say, really well done, but you can do a little bit better. So people get uplifted. And so dealing with kids is first acknowledge their age, acknowledge the psyche, how you need to approach them, and that's super important. I'd say that is maybe more important what you do in the weight room, unless you don't mess them up. And third thing is figure out where they are in terms of what are their needs, and we can talk about it a bit later. Definitely don't copy programs that you did with the adults or what LeBron James is doing. And then start with the basics, and basics is what? Is movement, teach movement. And I teach movement from kids that are 10 years old and come in the weight room until our pros in CSKA, in a different methodology, but we all go through the same things. How to run properly, basics of acceleration, of stopping, taking off, landing, crossing over, defensive slides in 2-3 different situations. Nothing crazy, just shin angles, where your foot has to go, how you touch your foot on the ground, and just build simple exercises and you build that up. That's in terms of movement. Then go and teach some basic exercises, like make sure people understand what is squatting. Is squat the holy grail of training? No, but it's a basic movement. It's, you know, it's defense, it's jumping, it's just a full body movement that everybody should master. Make sure they're lunging correctly, make sure they understand the hip hinge. Posture is great, and most parents come in and say on the side, hey, after we talk and say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? I say, yes. Can you tell him or her to just stand tall, because they're working like this? You know, this juvenile stance, which comes from, sometimes it comes from lack of what? Of confidence. Just people want to be small. Tall kids want to be shorter. My wife is my height. She's like 183, and she's going to kill me if I say that story, but I'm going to say this. She says, I was walking, she was a professional volleyball player, played the national team of Greece, really good player, played the center, and she said, I keep walking like that because I don't want to be tall. When I was growing up, I didn't want to be tall. I was taller than the other girls, and I was like that. And here's the strength coach saying, stand tall, shoulder blades back, you know, stand, you know, the correct, whatever that is, posture. Having said that, going to more technical things, that there's not a one posture that fits everybody, but you kind of, and that's part of our craft, is just to understand how much and you need to intervene and kind of correct, which I hate that word, correct, but just intervene in the posture. But it connects with how you move, it connects with sliding technique, acceleration technique, squatting technique, lifting technique, shoulder health, neck health, and everything. So you have to kind of be aware of that. So, you know, movement, stance, posture, basic exercises, and just build it up with progression. And there you have it. I don't think it's nuclear science. Just respect what you see, and just understand progression. And I love this this term of this group is called Resistance Training Specialists, RTS, from Tom Purvis, and they coined that term. Micro progression is the smallest load, the smallest stimulus that is going to produce an adaptation. We're just trying to figure out what that is, you know, and to understand that, you backtrack, and that's how you actually figure out what you need to know. Well, I got a 13-year-old girl. What is her physiological state right now? What's happening with the bones, with the cartilage, with what's happening with the nervous system, with the muscle system? And okay, well, if I understand that, then I need to know what to do. And I'm going to do this exercise A or exercise B. Know your progressions and your regressions, how you can make an exercise harder or easier, and always give the athlete, no matter if it's 10 or 50, the exercise and the load that they're going to be successful at. You know, we see it around gyms all the time. You like to, and we talk in the car coming here about bias, because I like squatting, everybody's going to squat. Well, you know, this is just a tool. You need to have 50 different tools, and just be able to pick the right tool so that your athlete is going to be successful to what he or she does, and just challenge a little bit more every day. That's micro progression, where you don't do damage and you always find that spot. And that goes for youth training, and it goes for professional basketball training. And to me, youth training is about the personality and how you treat people in the coaching process, and understanding developmental process, what the physiology is. And it's not nuclear science. And always the kids, I'm always conservative. I'd rather take more time to do things than just push them and impress a dad or a kid that comes in and shows something on Instagram and say, I want to do this, I don't care. We just figure out what's your starting point, and then we go from there.
Excellent, excellent. I think the greatest point from everything what you mentioned, the greatest point was blending the physical part with psychology.
Absolutely.
Because as you say, sometimes as coaches we can focus too much on the postural corrections, and
Sure.
and we are talking about activating back muscles, retracting shoulder blades, and you do a set of, like, I don't know, letter T, five sets of 10, and you think that you're gonna do something, but after the practice finishes, they're again with rounded shoulders because of bad posture. And it's not only because they're watching something on their phone, it's just how they feel. And then understanding how mental part can actually affect physical part is completely different. So just to exaggerate a little bit, I had like when I want to discuss some hot topics with my colleagues, I always say I first ask, what is the best exercise for good posture? And then we debate, and some say letters, some say I don't know, deadlifts, some would say good mornings, and I say I think the best exercise for good posture is bench press or any kind of bench press. And then they say like, come on man, bench press, it's gonna make it even worse, you know, kyphosis, rounded shoulders. And I say no, because once you build your shoulders, usually you will walk.
Yeah. You feel proud.
Like a man, you know, you will walk up straight, you want to show, and then the rest of the day, your muscles on the back will be activated
you
because
build your confidence
of this posture.
and you realize that a lot of these kids, most of these kids have confidence issues. They're juveniles, they're adolescents, they're you know, growing up, and this is when your mind is messed up. And the biggest thing is to first communicate, and you have to understand them and understand what they're thinking and their problems. And that's coaching right there. You know, first two sessions, I do certain things in terms of practical. We're going to squat and teach, but I try to get to know this kid and where is he? Does he want to be or she want to be there, or is it because the dad brought him in? Why do you want to play basketball? That's another big question. Why you want to play? Is it because this is the only thing that will give you self-worth? And is your whole life connected to how good of a player you are? And that's not good if that's happening. And you have to just come close to the kids and understand a lot about their why and why they're about. And coaching is about connecting. And a lot of parents come in and say, you know what? I just told them the same things: eat right, hold your chest up, and once you said them, they did it. Well. It is what it is. And I got two little boys right now. I'm sure it's going to be like that. You know, they're going to have their father telling them about all this stuff, and some random guy is going to tell them they're going to do it. But it's about connecting, and it's about understanding the psyche of the and get, you know, think about yourself. And I think about myself when I was growing up. I was a mess, and I was fortunate enough. Again, I've been really lucky in life to come across people that really cared about not my basketball skill when I was playing, or my you know, technical strength and conditioning skills, but about me. What are you about? Mm-hmm. And these people have the biggest impact on me, and I try to do the same thing, and as much as I can, to whoever I come across, especially younger athletes. The technical part, you need to know it's about knowledge, it's about system, but the hard part is about connecting. And coaching is about empathy. Coaching is about connecting with people. You can be the most knowledgeable person in the world. You can be the guru of everything, and if you can't connect to the athlete, if the athlete doesn't trust you, if they don't feel that you really care about them, then all your knowledge goes down the drain. Mm-hmm. So maybe, and why are some coaches, we see around some coaches that are not very technically skilled, but they're very successful, but they're very good communicators. They inspire the people. Athletes want to be around them, and they bring out their best self, but technical skill is not that great, but they are super successful, and we need to learn from that. Mm-hmm. And just ideally have both. Perfect.
Let's talk a little bit about testing. You can share a little bit your ideal battery of tests for youth athletes, and how does it connect with elite players?
I've got a lot of thoughts, and I've been going back and forth throughout my career and about testing, and testing is just a snap in time. Like you arrange one day, let's say today we're going to do a battery test, acceleration 5-10 meters, 20 meters. We're going to test all the verticals, you know, the counter movement jumps, the drop jumps, and everything. And it's useful. You can get a good idea of where everybody is in basketball. That's one piece of information that you might use, but because it's a skilled sport, it's not an NFL combine. You know, that physical skill plays a crucial role. You can be a mediocre athlete and a great basketball player because you're very talented, and we see that all the time in the NBA and in Europe. So testing, I would like to get a baseline of all those things that we talked about, acceleration, vertical jump, and some kind of slides. Slides, agility. I'm bigger than slides because slides, most people don't do the right technique. Lately, we've been playing with things like force plates, trying to discern the different, phases of jumping and the power production phases, which is useful. In youth athletes, I would say that I don't know how valuable it is, because you also have the maturation process, and people are growing up and getting better by growing up. And if you wait out 3-4 years, then they're just going to have some, and they keep training, they're going to have some stellar results. And I don't know how you can discern what is your innovation or not, but I like to get at least, let's say, an athletic ID of the athletes. I'm bigger on monitoring, which is a continuous evaluation, daily, weekly, monthly, rather than testing, which is going to be, September, December, and let's say the end of the season, whenever everybody is planning. And that is really important. For me, monitoring is more helpful to adjust the program than just these testing batteries, which is testing is very interesting concept, but it's practically, especially in team settings, is hard to administer. If we talk about professional sport, it's almost impossible through the season. So monitoring comes in handy. So monitoring could be, what we do in CSKA is, and this is basically the core of our injury prevention program, is just we work individually with each athlete. It's a fairly big staff of 5-6 people over there for European standards, and just going through muscle tests, through observation after every game, and joint by joint evaluation, issues that we know the guys had based on the previous injury history, and just going and trying to basically see what the loading of the last week or the last few days has, what effect it has on your body. And we use Gym Aware, some tests that we try to get some more data, things that are practical and don't require a setup and a special time to administer. So we get in the weight room, part of your warm up, part of your preparation to get into the practice is evaluation with me. Let's work on yours. Let's do some isometrics for your ankle. So I test your ankle or your hamstrings or whatever I feel that needs to be evaluated, monitored, let's say. And then your first exercise might be, like gym or deadlifts, and then we compare the strength levels with the previous week or something like that. So something practical that is part of the training process, and not just, okay, let's warm up and today we're gonna just do drop jumps. Half of the people don't even want to do that, as you know, they're just gonna mess around. So I believe more in monitoring than in testing specific dates, especially in a competitive environment like we are, in like 2-3 games a week. If you talk about youth, yes, definitely you should. At Performance we do like 3-4 a year. But I find more value in the qualitative realm. Like if you, how your running mechanics have improved, how your sliding has improved. Did you learn how to squat? Did you learn how to land? 1 leg, 2 legs? Did you get control of your body? Things that are not easily measurable, rather than if you're 13 years old and you increase your 20-yard sprint by 0.5, you're going to increase it if you fix your mechanics, if you learn your body, if you learn how to control your body, if you learn your basic strength exercises and plyometric exercises, landing, taking off, then you're going to get better. Mm-hmm. So,
excellent. I like the point where you combine the qualitative expertise with quantity.
I think this is largely overlooked, and we have to understand that what we do is very often driven by technology. When I was learning, the big thing was VO2 max testing. Everybody did VO2 max. Why? Because we, back in this VO2 research that was huge, and a lot of funding came into it because of the heart and whatever. I don't know. I don't want to express an expert opinion about why it happened, but everybody was doing VO2 max. Me as an athlete, and when I was in Olympiacos, we had to do VO2 max. Why? Because that was it. When the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So let's do VO2 max because that's what we all have. Now we can test 10-20 meters because of the cells. Let's test that, but what value does it have? I want to test if let's take quality. Let's see if the knees is raising higher or by extending my back leg in the sprint. But technology was not evolved. I was in 2002. I was working in performance, athletes performance in Arizona. I was interning. I was not working. I was interning there, and there comes a guy. I don't remember. I think it was one of the prototypes of dartfish. In order to get a biomechanics measurement, you need to spend 20 minutes putting the markers on, and it was just a painstaking, long, expensive process of just making a basic biomechanical analysis, basically evaluating the qualitative characteristics, see if something changed other than time and height, which is fairly simple to test. Now with the phones, and it's a joke, you can have a fairly good assessment. Technology is driving qualitative assessments even better, but now that doesn't print well on the paper sometimes. So how much did my son improve? Well, he's lifting his knee up a little bit higher. Yeah, well, and Americans are obsessed with numbers, or what is the number of this? Numbers are useful. I'm a big number guy and statistics and all that, but it's a little more complicated. That qualitative is huge, So I go back and forth with these things.
No, it's okay. I mean, I see the point, and I see the connection between youth and elite settings. Let's move completely to elite settings, and let's talk a little bit about your experience in periodization, especially when it comes to in-season periodization. We know that Euroleague format now, sometimes we have even 2 Euroleague games per week with domestic or regional championship, which means 3 games per week. So let's talk a little bit about these settings, and maybe you can give us some practical examples how you organize everything with Coach Itudis when you play, for example, 2 games a week, 3 games a week. What are the principles and what are the things that you are looking for?
No, this is a huge issue. First of all, we got to talk about periodization is according to what? Strength, speed, conditioning, what? Like I said, periodization is a general idea, concept of just kind of trying to put all these different subjects throughout time, in your timeline. I'm very fortunate to work with Coach Itudis because he gets it. He's one of these people that, although
we have to say that he has university background in sports science. He used to study in Zagreb.
And he used to start with like your guy's school was a hardcore, like work hard, and whoever survives is lucky and he's going to be a world champion, but the rest are out of the door. And I have to give him that he changed. He's smart enough and experienced enough to change and adapt to different times, and these are different times right now with all this loading. You cannot do what you did 20 years ago or 15 years ago or even 5 years ago, But this is a great thing because there's a big debate about injury prevention. The number one, your chief injury prevention officer, if you want to call it like that, is your head coach. Because if I come in with my charts and my GPS data and say, Coach, today we should train for 20 minutes instead of 25, and they say, you know what, Kostas, you get out of the door because we lost yesterday, I'm going to grind them for an hour and a half. And all your plans go down out of the window, and then some people get hurt because the head coach decided to do his own thing. But in our case, I'm really lucky because we're on the same page. He is experienced. Sometimes you don't need to tell him anything. He just knows, hey, we need to stop, because he gets it. And also he gives me enough space to function. I have to say, he never, intervene with he asks me a lot. He definitely cares. He wants to know everything. But he leaves enough space for me to do my thing. And if we talk about periodization in season, is a real tough one. And I want to address it a little more like in 2 ways. One, to describe what's happening in our world, which is 2-3 games a week. And then just address for the people that are listening that have 1 game a week or 2 games a week. That is in a different settings, and how they can handle their situation. For us, in this 2-3 games a week, there's certain things that are important. One is to understand that although we're in a team setting and we all used to think about periodization, about being a coherent thing, there's no such thing as team periodization. You understand that. It's just 15 different individuals that have that different needs. You have your veterans, you have the younger guys, you have the people that play a lot of time, you have the development kids that sometimes don't even play a minute. So you have to plan differently for each one, and they have to come also in different times, which something that we do because I want to coach everybody. In terms of conditioning, let's start from the easy stuff. Unless you're injured or you're coming back from injury, conditioning happens through basketball practice. If you don't play enough minutes in the game, then you have to condition the next day. So what do you do for conditioning in season? Well, it depends who you are. If you are this guy, these people that don't get it more than 10 minutes of playing time, and then because if you play Tuesday, right now we play tomorrow, by the way. We play tomorrow against each other, and then we play Friday against Madrid, and then we play Monday against a local team in Russia. Well, the people they're not gonna play Euroleague, but they have to play on Monday. They have to train because they can't go in on Monday and say, okay, now you play 20 minutes and you didn't do nothing for 5 days because there's not going to be no practice from today until Sunday, I'm sorry. So you have to take care of that. And something like that happens also in the NBA, from far as I know. So conditioning for the people that are coming back from injury and the people that don't play. Agility, plyometrics, same goes. They might do something. The people that don't get enough minutes. These guys, they get a little bit of athletic development throughout the season because now we can break down some. So we can teach them Olympic lifting. We can teach them how to run, even though we're in season and there's too much practice, but we get time to spend on a more one-on-one level. So for the rest of the team, we hardly ever do any plyometrics or agility in season because they get this through basketball practice. How many jumps, how many changes of directions. And the main focus then becomes the weight room and what we do there, because the two main things, they have to perform at the highest level throughout the year. So from September that we start in October and we finish in June. So it's a long season. So they have to be at their peak as much time as they can, and they have to stay healthy. So those are the two major concerns for the strength coach in Europe and in our situation. So everybody gets their individual program, and there's a term called microdosing. You probably heard about it. I don't know if it applies to us, but I'm a big believer in consistency, and results come through consistent work and the aggregation of a lot of days of practice, even if the frequency is not very high. We try to have at least one heavy day as a group in the week, even if we play if we have back-to-back games, that's hard, but most of the season it's not. We can have one heavy day. A heavy day for me is like we'll have 2-3 main exercises like the squats. We'll do an explosive exercise, so we clean, we snatch, we deadlift, something that is explosive. Deadlift is not in this category, but there's going to be something that is going to be explosive. Something's going to be. And the next two exercises are going to be heavy exercises. We're going to squat, we're going to deadlift, we're going to do RDLs, posterior chain, the whole thing. But we're going to load. So you have guys working, if we talk about velocity-based training, we use a lot at the speeds of 0.8, 0.85. We're going to go, close to 80-90% of our strength. And this is, for me, the core of the program. And then we're going to have some other exercises like push-pull, various movements, 3D, the whole, let's say, I hate the word functional, but
it's easy to understand.
It's easy to understand, so we're going to blend as much exercise as we can. It's hard to do it in a couple of days a week, obviously. But then the rule that we have is, so we have at least one heavy day per week, individualized program, focus on intensity, volume is medium. And then I make sure we have a big board. Actually, this year we have a paper that I make sure everybody comes in the weight room. Any day, basically, we don't have a game. And over there, we're able to intervene on the individual problems. So if we have a lot of ankle issues are big in basketball, obviously. 55% of our injuries the last 5 years are lower leg related. For example, so I have everybody coming in and just specifically and targeted do exercise for each problem, and then if we have time and energy, we'll do also strength with this. These times we're talking about 30-40 minutes per day. So we try to get small doses, higher frequency, low volume, so we can get the adaptations that we want. So strength is big, power is big, taking care of small problems and also addressing strength is also big. And injury prevention or whatever, I hate that those terms they're just thrown out so easily, but it's targeted. So through muscle testing, for example, we figure out which muscles around the ankle on their lower leg needs to be strengthened, and we'll do that. If we need, if somebody's if somebody's ankle has lack of pronation, we work for that. It's not just, hey, just come in and do balance or just do this ankle mobility. We try to be as specific and as targeted as we can.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And when it comes to micro periodization of basketball practices, more or less, how do you organize team practices?
So for us, this is pretty straightforward because it's pretty simple, because we have the game day and then we have three different situations. Is the day after the game. It can be either a day after a game, it can be a day off, 2 days before a game and 1 day before a game. So it's basically 3 types of workouts that we have. If we play, for example, Monday and then the next game is Thursday, then when Tuesday is going to be off, Wednesday is going to be a light workout, Thursday is going to be a game. If we play Friday, then Wednesday is going to be a harder workout, harder practice. The content of the practice is pretty much set. So our warm up, we play 5-on-5, work on strategy, a couple of drills, and that's it. So we don't have to worry about content that much. The content is kind of the same, so the load is kind of predictable. So we play with volume. Time.
What is
so average
duration?
time after my workout is 50 minutes to 1 hour maximum of live basketball. It depends on the result, depends on the opponent, depends on the previous weeks, and we just basically track on that with time. Tried GPS, tried RPs, and I think that we came down to the most practical and accurate thing is measure in our situation. I understand the situation is not for everybody the same. Is tracking time and the different types of workouts and being very aware to give rest to people that play a lot of minutes. Even getting to these, 3-4 years ago, it was being unthinkable, just a normal practice day, just to say you guys just sit out. So people that get a lot of loading, so even though we have practice, you sit out, just watch practice and just rest, because the name of the game is rest. It comes down to who comes to the Final Four. If you make the Final Four, if you're lucky enough and have the whole squad, that's success. Getting there and having success. Now, if you have less games per week, if you have 1 game per week, then periodization is a little bit more straightforward. You can have 2, usually I recommend 2 hard days a week, 2 hard lifting days a week. Then if you have 1 game a week, you can have an agility day and a plyometrics day, so it's a little more developmental work going on than our situation. Our situation is keep people rested, keep people healthy, and that will happen through this micro work and through strength. That's basically it.
Excellent, excellent. I really like the points. Shifting from in-season program to off-season program. Now you're working with CSKA basketball for how many years?
This is
sixth season, and I know that during summertime you spend most of the time with your family in Greece to check guys in your performance center. But as you said, some of the players from CSKA would come to Athens to work with you, and I know that you're in contact with all of the guys under contract. So how do you organize your off-season program in the last 5-6 years with your CSKA team, and what are your usual principles when it comes to off-season strength and conditioning?
Well, that's huge. Off-season is just a huge part of athletic development and sports life in general. It could be, we could be talking for hours just for the off-season, and it's a very challenging period for all of us. And basically, it's our high time. This is the time that strength coaches have to actually, we just have so much time and space to work. But in our situation in CSKA, you asked and you mentioned that we try to stay in contact. The biggest challenge is the national teams, because teams of the higher level, we have international players that the Europeans play in the national teams, the Americans go back home. National team means that the players that need rest don't get rest. And I don't want to be misunderstood. National teams are huge. It's a great honor to play for your national team. It's a huge part of sports, but they have an effect on player development and player health, because players don't have the time to develop themselves and or to recover from injuries. So for us, when the season ends, we'll have a couple of people staying in Moscow, and these are the young guys that are going to join some under something national team, and the rest, most of the summers, go to the national teams. We have a couple of injured guys that need to do rehab, and some Americans that go to the States. So what I do is I stay with contact with everybody that we know that we're going to have. I have this platform that I send electronic programs that I make sure to be in contact with them. This year we started traveling, to people that need some special attention, and try to do the best we can to keep track of their progress in the summer, because off-season is not, I think it shouldn't be called off-season, it should be called early pre-season, because basically what you do in the summer will follow you all year. Either you're going to become a much better player, and I've seen it time and again, I don't want to name names, that people that work in the summer, for sure you're going to get better in the winter, either because you're actually better, you're more skilled, you're stronger, because you work on your basketball and you're more confident, and the chances are you're going to stay healthy. And I have so many examples. I've recorded so much data that people that come unprepared are the people that are struggling, that they're going to play basketball after November, and our season starts in September, just because they're not ready. And if you look at it from the club standpoint, there's no way, if somebody shows up in preseason camp, let's say late August or early September as it is in Europe, and we have now 4 to 6 weeks of, maximum 6 weeks of preseason, if you're coming back bad shape, you're done. There's no way to get in shape or to train slowly or to adapt. There's just no time. You just got to get into play. So most people, what they do is either they get overloaded, so something that should have been, let's say, of intensity of an RPE, let's say a 7, for you is a 10, and it's a 10 for weeks. So you're devastated. So until you taper and you start performing, it's already mid-November. Coaches are mad, management is mad, everybody's mad at you because of why he's in not good shape, or they get injured. Because most people go, oh yeah, I worked in the summer, yeah, I worked, and then you start this intensive program, and for us, preseason is preseason. A coach will start straight away 5-on-5 to our practices. There's no more running around in the forest, just to jog, and then in the afternoon just shooting. It's just straight basketball. If you come unprepared, you're done, basically. So off-season is super important. So we try to follow our players, and there's not a lot of athletic development going on in this level because of the national teams, and that's unfortunate for athletic development. It's fortunate for national teams, so I don't want to be misunderstood. On the other hand, off-season is a great opportunity. It's a very exciting time for us. For me, I finished in Moscow anywhere between the 15th and 20th of June, and the next day in the morning I come back home, I just go to train. I just go train people, and I love it, and it's just our time. You have athletes with no obligations, and you can get them for 2-3 hours and just do your thing. First priority is, no matter what age you are, off-season is taking care of your health. It's the perfect time of recovering from minor injuries and all these nagging things that you might be following you from the season. And a lot of people want to work, and when they come in, and if I detect a problem, I say, hey, we need to get that knee straight, we need to get that ankle healthy, or just to work on those little things before you start more intensive training. That's one. Second, off-season needs to be a rounded program. It needs to have, you start from the movement preparation, warm-up, whatever you call it, or a plan to work on mobility, all those small things that will prepare the athlete to perform at a high level. It needs to have speed and agility almost every day. Power exercises, either body weight, plyometrics, or resistance, and then strength. And that's every day. And our job is to, I use the word periodization, to plan it in such a way that it's doable and it doesn't tax the body. So one day might be linear speed, the other one would be lateral speed, then day off, and so on and so forth. Doesn't mean you're going to do Olympic lifts every day, but you have to have those components almost every day for, best case scenario, a month, to be realistic. Europe is different than the US, that you have 6 months of off season, then you can have different blocks of training. For our reality is way different. You have people with less time. Most leagues finish at the end of June, even junior teams, right? And then we start again in August. So I always tell people that you need to, after the league, you have to take some time off, no more than 7 to 10 days, work, rest, go back to your preseason. Don't take 1 month off and then come back and try to make up that time. But you need to take time off. That's and then we can be talking about methods and techniques and all day. It depends on who you train, what the needs are, and that's how you're going to structure your program. Age, everything it's very important. But off season is definitely the most exciting period for us.
Everything matters when it comes to off season.
Absolutely,
everything matters. You have to consider the previous season. You have to consider the age of the athlete.
It's an equation that you have to solve, let's say, and I know people love protocols, and I hate the word protocol. I think, and that's a little bit confusing sometimes, even for us, because you cannot rethink everything from the start. You need to have some heuristics, some kind of let's say plan already in your head. But really, you have to adjust your knowledge to the person you have, and you have to come in with we were talking about biases. You should come in with a clear idea of let me see what this person needs, and not what I feel I want to do, or what I know I can do better, or what I believe is good for the athlete. Well, what is good for this athlete is the question, And I said, okay, the program needs to have all these components. Well, maybe for this athlete, this component is a little bit redundant, or we need to take a step back. Blank slate, I think is the English word, like white paper. If you just come in without biases, and it's hard, and we all come from somewhere, and we all have our beliefs, and that's another huge topic in training. And how do you decide what to do? Or for most people, it's straightforward. Well, I have all these ideas. Well, how do you know these ideas are best for this person? Mm-hmm. And it comes now, the discussion becomes more philosophical than practical. It's
philosophical, but it's applicable.
It's common sense, in my opinion, because a lot of people come in with I'm great at it. I've worked with coaches that everybody did Olympic lifts. Well, are you sure this person should spend all this time there, or at this phase of his career wouldn't be better if he did this or she did this, or if we progress there and so for example, you can spend 15 minutes teaching because we get people that come in and never Olympic lifted before, and we believe in Olympic lifting because it's so great about power and blah blah, but you see a person that is like in the 30s, and would you spend all that time because the Olympic lift is your thing? Well, how about just teaching them how to do a simple deadlift and then just proceed with the rest of the training? Let them have a training effect, and then so tools in a toolbox, and knowing when to use what is basically what makes you a better coach. I don't want to use the word expert. This is just stupid, but this is how I think about things, and we're all guilty of that. I'm just going to train you because I know. But then you got to take a step back and respect the person you have, and try to make that decision. Mm-hmm. So,
excellent point. Okay, guys. End of the second part.
We'll be talking all night over here. We
will continue talking in dark when they turn off the lights. But I just wanted to share before we close the second part that Kostas just a couple of days made his website available to all of us. And on this website, you can also find his blog where he's sharing his latest writings. and one of the new things that he's going to publish soon is going to be about bias in our everyday work, and I think it's going to be hell of an article. So I will share here with you his website, so you can stay updated also about that topic. So short break, and we are coming for the last part.
Thanks for listening.
Guys, welcome back to the last part of today's episode with Kostas. I'm really having fun tonight, and I hope that you're also having fun and that you're learning from Kostas' experience. I mean, he has so many things to share, and I know that this is just a tiny part of his experience. So let's move on. Let's ask him some simple questions to close this interview. So the first question to you is, what do you look at during games?
Yeah, well, for me, games are, it's very, very emotional. I know for you too. I cannot sit still. That's one thing. Is every time the game starts, I say, you know what, this game, I'm just going to sit still. I'm not going to get up. I'm just going to clap. And this 2 minutes down the game, I'm just like playing. But trying to be also professional. And I'm known to step the boundaries sometimes, and I apologize about that, and just go to the refs and things like that, which is definitely not my place to do. But in terms of our profession, our job basically, I think it's just it stops when the whistle blows. Warm up is the last really big thing that we have to do, and I try to do it with a passion. Obviously, like you, we've done maybe thousands of warm-ups, and each one I'm just sitting down and just pre-thinking what I'm going to do, and it's pretty much the same. It's an autopilot, but I feel that I have to give my best to get the team going, and I don't think we have such a big effect in the warm-up. But anyways, once the game starts, what I'm looking for is actually just to see signs of fatigue, body language of the players. I do count the time played for whatever that's worth. Although coach will play the players that need to play. If they need to play 40 minutes, they'll play 40 minutes. And just be in contact with the players, and because we have this connection, if they don't feel good or they have some kind of pain, or I make sure to be alert. Other than that, I don't do much. I give Coach Kitutis the chair to sit, which I take pride of. But basically trying to see what condition the players are, and just try to be positive and try to be enthusiastic in the game. How much does it help? I don't know. But I was always this person that I feel like that I'm playing. I want to give my best effort, and just to be a positive power in the bench. And if I help 0.5%, that's great. That means I helped. I don't have illusions that I helped that much, but I'd rather be there fighting than sitting in the corner and just waiting for the game to end.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you mentioned chair,
yeah.
I remember that I was doing it for Coach Repesha in the
well,
national team, and for me it was the best thing.
You know what? I'll do whatever. I'll just for the team to win. I just carry water. I don't care. People are just carrying the chair. I don't know. I think I'm a good coach. I don't feel that it's something bad, and I honestly do whatever in order to help the team. If it's just 0.1% of win, I'll do it. The chair, carry the towels, just clap. I don't care.
Have you ever received technical foul?
Oh yeah, I have, and I just wanted the earth. I don't know. We have this expression in Greek. Just if the earth could open and I could go in the earth and disappear, that'd be great at that point. And I apologize and this and that. And I regret to say it more than once. I'm trying to correct that because it's not right.
But you're sitting at the end of the bench.
No, I'm
right?
sitting right by the coaches.
Oh.
That's why I get the technical, because I'm there, and we're part of the game. And because people are listening, and it's definitely wrong, and I don't feel good about it, and it's something that I feel that I need to kind of. But I feel I'm part of the game. I'm not. Obviously I regret it, and it shouldn't be happening. And I think it's hurting me professionally also, because, I think I'm serious with what I do, and it definitely is not the position to get technicals. But you're part of the game, we're in a high stakes.
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it does. It shouldn't be happening though.
Excellent. What do you consider as the major role of strength and conditioning coach on the team, on a basketball team?
You mean generally?
Yeah.
Well, it's just a very, very complex and diverse role. It started from this guy that does warm-up and maybe run people in the preseason, to this multitask person that has to coordinate. let me put it this way. There's so many things that apply to our field: nutrition, injury prevention, whatever that is, and training and programming and keeping the team cohesive and being the in-between between the medical and the coaching staff. So many things go into that. That doesn't mean you have to do all of them yourself. So I think it's time for us in Europe to move up to the more managerial and administrative positions where you are the hub, you're the center, you are the person in responsible in hiring and in coordinating all these different things. So you have a nutritionist, the rehab coach, and everybody reports to this person that coordinates everything. Doesn't mean you're making the calls, doesn't mean you're better than everybody else. It's just the position, because you are responsible for the player's well-being. Well, where does this depend on? From what is this well-being depend on? Well, nutrition, rest, recovery, training, programming, psychology, talking to the coaches and all that. So it's a very complex role that and a lot of people don't understand how this has changed through the years. A lot of in some situation, administration, not my situation for sure, they look at us as these people that are just doing the warm-up and just a little bit of weights and this and that, where it has changed a lot. A lot of coaches understand more our position because they have to actually interact with us and they see what's happening. So it's a very diverse, I think, role that we cover and very responsible, I'd say. And we are close to the players than anybody else, because we're with them the whole time. We're with them during the game, during the practice, during the weight training, during rehab, and with them all the time. And that traveling, and that bears a big responsibility, because here in this weight room, people will talk, people will open up sometimes to things that they won't say to coaches. They tell you some things that they want you to convey to the coach, and you have to be very careful on what to say. Sometimes you hear things in the weight room that coach needs to know, but you don't want to betray the trust, but you don't want to betray the coach's trust. So you have to juggle that, and it's not only just doing the right exercise for the right people, which is also very important, because in our situation, we're dealing about, first of all, we're dealing about young people, their lives, their health, their dreams, their desire to be better, but also a big financial value. So this is a little bit uncomfortable conversation, but they're assets also. You have players that are worth millions of dollars or euros, and you can make a mistake, and because they're going to lose, the team's going to lose. They're assets. You can destroy the company's assets. If you look at it this way, it's a big responsibility. So I look at it more to the humanitarian, let's say, part than the financial, but it's also a consideration.
Definitely.
People spend money to have these players on the court, not in your rehab area. That's important. So.
Yeah, very often young strength and conditioning coaches think that in order to work with elite teams, it's like very, very, very hard work, and then because you work very, very, very hard, you get paid well. But it's not actually the hard work; it's the responsibility behind.
You're not getting paid for per hour. You're getting paid per value. Per hour pay is not a good deal in general, but you get paid because you
value and responsibility.
Responsibility decisions that you're going to make, and the intuition you might have, and that's why you're getting paid for. You're getting these jobs. You have to put in the hard work. Definitely to get to a point where all these are automatic. And there's a great saying, I don't know if you heard about it, I don't think it ever happened, but it's the story about Picasso, that he gets stopped in the, Picasso is like from this area, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So he gets stopped in the market, and this lady says, you're Mr. Picasso, yes, can you draw me something for my daughter? And he goes in and draws a Picasso drawing and said, it costs $1 million. He said, here, it's $1 million to the lady. And the lady said, we took you like 5 minutes to draw. He said, it took me 30 years to draw it in 5 minutes. So obviously this is not a real story, I don't think, but this is a famous thing that, hey, you're here, you think everything is easy, but the what goes behind, so you can make that instant right call, or sometimes wrong, and be at that position where you're going to make a wrong call and you have to live with it, then that's why you're here, basically. And that's why I'm always say you have to be brave and stand up for what you believe and make a call. And hey, that's what we're getting paid for. And you've been in situations that there are hard times and decisions need to be made, and you need to make a decision. And I've been in situations where people don't want to make that decision. They want to put their hand in the fire. But guess what? That's why you're here, man. And those Euroleagues are great, but there's the other side that you got to make a call and put your head, stick your head out. That's why you're getting paid for it. Otherwise, we'll get somebody that wanted to play it safe. And you have to be able to, bite the bullet. And if you're wrong, and I'm sure you've been in these situations where you made a mistake, and that mistake cost a lot of money and a lot of distress to a lot of people. So hey, that's what you're here for. That's why you're getting paid. Exactly. So it's not all shiny and cameras and whatever publicity we get as strength coaches, which we shouldn't get a lot, and we don't. But it's also the responsibility that you bear. You have to accept that, and because we're all happy to get here and put the logos but hey, that's not enough. You're getting paid to express your opinion and be responsible, and not get away from hard decisions. I don't know if this guy should play, or make it's your call. You got to make it. If you make a mistake, then got to live with it.
Yeah, exactly. You're doing an amazing job in CSKA with Coach Itoudis. It's obvious because of the titles, and it's not easy to win titles in Euroleague, because as you say, even to reach to Final Four, it's not easy.
It's very hard.
So I know that you like to be around CSKA, and I know that you bonded so well with Coach Itoudis. But I want to ask you, because I consider you as a really good candidate, especially because of your US experience. Do you have any aspirations about joining teams in NBA? Would you consider it in the future?
Yeah, well, I definitely would. Like you said, right now I'm in a great situation, and I really mean it. It's not like, oh yeah, now I only have this in mind. I really do. I wish I stay as much as, as much as possible. Our lives as coaches is, there's going to be an ending at some point, and that's natural, and that's probably good from some aspect. But yeah, the next step, I would definitely would like to try. I have a lot of connection with this part of the world, and I know it's not the ideal thing. Oh, you got to the NBA. It's not like you're a player and you're gonna, suddenly go to this magical world. In our world, there's a lot of things that need to be right in order to be a good job and a good situation. I'd like to go somewhere. If the next step, wherever it's going to be, I would like to have a responsibility and be able to coach and have a real role. That's my only thing. And NBA would be something that I would like to try at some point, but you never know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely, who wouldn't like to go there? It's an obvious step that if the right situation shows up, the right people on the right team and the right environment, that will be something good. I hope to stay here in CSKA as much as possible and win as much as possible right now, and I honestly believe that. So we'll see.
Next question is very, very related to that. How did your life change after winning titles?
Life. I'm still the same guy. I didn't set up. Some people, I hope Coach doesn't listen to that, but I didn't set up in life to win as many Euroleagues as I could. I just wanted to train people. I just wanted to evolve, and I was in Panionios for 7 years. I had a great time. I didn't win anything, but I was very fulfilled in training people and doing my thing. Winning is great. It's just an amazing feeling, and you get addicted to it. But on the other hand, is my life didn't change. I'm still the same person. I'm as hungry as ever. I would like to feel those feelings again. I want to get better. I feel that I'm not enough as a professional. I want to learn more, and I really don't think that my life changed. And I told you before, I have my brother over there just saying, "Hey, how did the game go?" And just a European champion. So what? Let's go bike riding And this is what it is, you know. We live in a bubble, and in my bubble, yeah, everything's fantastic. You're a European champion, and in real life, you know, who cares? Is there's other things that are very important and that attract my attention. And another thing is that nobody remembers who was the strength coach of Real Madrid. My friend Trapero was a great guy and a great coach, but for us, we're in the background. We're the planets, the stars. Everybody will remember coach or the players or Nando or Chacho and all these guys that were kicking, so all the guys that were great. But for us, you know, it changed it a lot. I feel great and I feel proud, but at the other hand, you know, I'm not much.
Yeah, excellent.
It's like you have to balance it out.
Perfect.
But I want more. I just want to say that I want to win more. I'm very, very, you know, determined in that.
Nice. Excellent. Last question. I know that you read a lot. It's definitely one of your favorite things. I remember from early summer, one of your posts on your Instagram, some random list of the books. I remember doing some screenshots just to remember the books. And actually, from your summer list, I ordered 3 or 4 books. Social Animal was one of them.
Was a great one,
And I don't recall now the names, but I had all of them on my list, and I ordered immediately 3 or 4 books. So I wanted to ask you for the end to share with us some of the titles of your favorite books.
Well, this changed, you know, with time, and as much as I read, I try to read as much as I can. I can't say I've met people that read a lot more, but definitely books are just opening up to new worlds and new ideas. But I would just say some influential books for me. One of the most influential book for me was just something that's a little bit obscure. It's called Failing Forward by John Maxwell. John Maxwell is a very famous author about motivation and management theory and all that. And I remember I was in Georgia, and it was my first job, and you know, I was a little bit struggling. I was working long hours, you know, waking up at 5 a.m. and the pay was not great, and it was just starting. I was alone all by myself over there, and I was going through some, I wouldn't say hard time, but I was a little bit struggling. And then I heard John Maxwell speak to us, to actually the college brought him in to speak, and he mentioned that book, Failing Forward, which is basically described a lot of people's difficulties before they became successful. And it's just, you know, I realized that a lot of these people that were successful came through incredible hardships, not like something that I was going through, which was not much, and then it gave me hope, basically. And I always say that is something that and it got me in this journey of you know, this, I wouldn't say these self-help books, but this type of books of self-development. And that was one, Failing Forward. Another book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It was, you know, I was living in the States, so you got to read that, and it made sense. Okay, obviously it's a little bit extreme, but it did make sense. Social Animal was another great one. Now I'm reading one with Jordan Peterson, which is,
Rules of Life.
Yes, I found it very interesting in what it says. For our profession, I think one of the books that I really go back to all the time is Joy, Instruction, and Function. That's another great book to read, and so many books. Social Animal was one of the latest that I read. That was really good, and I'm drawn to these books that talk about how the mind works, how people make decisions, about psychology, I would say. Maybe because my background is not that strong over there, but it does resonate.
But it has a great impact on your daily work.
Absolutely. It's just, you know, this is what it is. How can you connect all these different cultures? We got kids from the States, from different cultures, from different countries, and if you cannot kind of try to see through what, you know, through them, and try to understand where they're coming from and how their thought process is being built and what motivates them, because you basically have to motivate people on their values. How are you going to motivate somebody if you don't understand what is important for them? Mm-hmm. You might be saying about winning or this and that, but somebody might be there for the money. Or you might be talking about, oh, you guys make so much money, and the money is not important for that person, it's winning is. So, or family or whatever. And each one of us, if we boil down our values, our core values, we will see that there's small differences to each other. So we need to, as coaches, we need to understand that. And basically coaching is connecting, is reading through people and finding the best way to have an impact, even a small one. Lifting weights, you're gonna get stronger. If you're gonna squat, you're gonna get stronger. If you're gonna do things, you're gonna get stronger. But how are you gonna get, can you get the best out of each athlete? Now that requires more effort, and it requires work with yourself first, to understand yourself and understand your own blind spots and your own biases and your own, why you were in it in the first place. And then try to project that to somebody else. Before you try to help somebody else, you have to at least get some kind of understanding of yourself. I'm not saying I have, but all these books have been eye-opening and just bringing to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and all that. So it's a process.
About field-related books, what would you suggest to young guys?
Well, This book, Joint Structure and Function, is great. I recommend a lot of articles. Now that's a huge issue nowadays, because it used to be that research was not that accessible to people because you had to be in a university. Now it's accessible, and now you get all these infographics. I don't know if
yeah, of course.
That you see the infographics. Oh, let's see that study, and then okay, I get it. Well, you don't get it because you see an infographic of a study. You have to get back into there and explore and see what the subjects were, what is the statistics analysis, what the statistics were. This is another huge conversation. Learning how to learn is a big issue, and everybody says research says, but what kind of research? Now, I was recently reading about this nutrition topic of window of opportunity. You have to eat something in the next 30 minutes after workout. Everybody knows that. Well, it turns out that it's not exactly that. And I come from a research university, the University of Texas, Dr. Coyle, Dr. Ivy, that were huge on that, carbohydrate metabolism, where it turns out that most of the research was done on non-professional athletes and on people that were fasted. So they haven't been eating anything for 7-8 hours. So yes, it's very important to eat something after exercise, but if you eat, research now is like, if you eat before 2-3 hours before, then it's not that important to eat right after workout. So I'm bringing that as an example of learning how to learn and how to be judgmental on what you read. So all these basic books of like Super Training of Mansif is a good book. Veroshansky and these older, basic science books. Which one was the other one that it was High Performance Training, which a lot of authors, Verstegen wrote in there. That's a really good book to put.
High Performance Training for
Yes, and there's several volumes out. Mike Bolt's Functional Training just really puts things in perspective. But I have to say to the coaches that are starting right now, this is just the surface. There's a lot more going on, and obviously these, the authors know that and just want to put something out just for the basic understanding. Nobody writes a book with the intention of, like you wrote a book, and it was a great book because it's very comprehensive, but you didn't go into all the details because you will be like an encyclopedia. It wouldn't be a book, and that's something that people need to understand. That's just scratching the surface. And when you talk to them about conditioning in basketball, you just give them like 10%. So they need to take your book and just dig deeper, and then be judgmental and figure it out. So that's why you see me a little reluctant in recommending books. But there's a lot of good publication out there. Recently I've been reading some basic physical therapy books just to know more about what each modality, not what it does, but how much research is going behind it and why we do certain things. And that's my interest right now, just to to know about that. But books are a wealth. My wife says it because I have books everywhere. She says, "Take your books away." So
excellent, man. Thank you a lot for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's great, and I want to say that what you're doing is great because you put in, the word out for what's happening in Europe, and I think there should be more of that, and you know, people need to understand that there's things that are things happening in Europe. They can look us up. I'm definitely open to communication and interaction with whoever wants to interact, just for the sake of our promoting our thing, you know.
Now you also started with your website.
Yeah.
That I said that I'm gonna share with all of you.
Thank you
guys.
so much. Yeah.
And that's
it's just an effort to put all my thoughts out, and that's it. And I've written a lot of articles in Greek, which doesn't really help your audience, because
translate it step by step.
Yeah, so I'm writing in English now. Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good game tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
Guys, with this we finish the 6th episode with Kostas. I hope you liked the episode. If you liked it, don't forget to share it, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Have a good day. All right. Is it working or did it die?
Died.
Died? We lost the end? That's all right.